most shocking reveals on paternity court.
My mother was a when she was with my dad, and she slept around, and that's the reason why my mom and my so-called father had broken up.
We decided to include Greg in our mix and try and spice things up.
Broken home, deadbeat daddy, all the right ingredients for a rough childhood. That's exactly what happened to Miss Wisniewski. She was dissatisfied with her parents' behavior and believed her father wasn't her biological father. Let's get some answers for her, shall we?
Ms. Wisniewski, you claim that both of your parents are the reason you grew up in a very unstable home. You say that your mother, Ms. Cortez, was extremely promiscuous and she pushed away your alleged father when you were very young.
It seemed the daughter was pretty much done with the antics of her parents. She was upfront about what she thought about both of them. And it most certainly wasn't a pretty picture that she painted. That has got to hurt.
My mother was a when she was with my dad, and she slept around, and that's the reason why my mom and my so-called father had broken up. And I want to know who my dad is, because I don't know who he is. If this is my dad, or another Jim was my dad. My mom's been with several other Jims in my life, and it's confused me.
Next up, we got to hear what the parents had to say to state their case. It must have been painful to hear such colorful words coming out of their daughter's mouth. Furthermore, the former married couple didn't seem to be too fond of each other as well.
I made mistakes, and yes, I did have an affair, but he also had affairs.
So now, Mr. Wisniewski, can you please explain why you doubt?
I have doubts because while we were together, I was in the military and went ahead, and I don't mind people buying drinks for ladies in bars free and stuff like that.
Things started heating up, and I for one predict a lot of drama in the future. Yup, Ms. Cortez denied the allegations of husband, but not everything. Oh yes, some truth was in there, and we're gonna find out what it was.
You do admit to having infidelity.
Specifically, what happened was on the way home from work one night, we were having an argument. He threw me out of the car. It was late at night.
Wait a minute, you're supposed to be
And
Christian. You should be lying.
I had somebody
I've never thrown you
pick
out.
me up because they saw me crying and I'm very upset.
Was it a stranger or someone you knew?
I didn't know that person.
Okay.
The troubles in the Wisniewski paradise soon turned to a divorce. I'm guessing the love had run its due course in their lives, and they put an end to it. Good for them. However, the husband had something else in mind along with the divorce.
Don't lie on this, Sharon. You know it. You know it.
I don't recall that,
100%.
Your Honor.
Yes,
I don't
you do.
recall that.
You
at
don't
all.
recall the
You're
conversation.
such a holy
No,
roller,
not
girl.
at all.
You're supposed to be the holy roller. Don't be lying. You
That-
change your life over to Christ. Change your life
If I
over
don't
to
recall
God.
something, I don't recall
So
something.
you don't remember this
No,
conversation?
I did
know it.
not.
You know it.
Okay.
In all that husband and wife drama, an important thing got missed. They were all there for the plaintiff to state her case, and when she got steamrolled by her parents, she let them have a piece of her mind. You go, girl, let him have it. Pressure cooker finally burst.
This right here could be your grandson. Does this matter to you?
Well, the thing being is that, when she was born,
You
Christine
know,
was born.
you
I
even
turned
missed
around, I
him.
even-
You missed the birth
I
of
had
him.
such a
Does
big
that
heart
matter
for
to you?
Christine.
Do you even care that he's 4 years old? He laughs kind of like you. When I hear you on the phone, he has your laugh. And then
Yeah,
you sit
well,
there and you're going
laugh's
to
a
deny
laugh.
him?
Moving on, a valid question was raised by Miss Wisniewski concerning her father. He abandoned her long ago, and not a peep had been heard from him since then. Why? I mean, that was just the definition of a deadbeat dad. But Mr. Jim wasn't having it.
Thing is that when I left, her mother would always change her phone number for one. The other thing is that I'm not here to be played with. She knows that I am not the father.
How certain are you that you are not Ms. Wisniewski's father?
99 and 99%.
Even though that man had definitely not come out as Father of the Year, he did end up sharing some things that hinted he might have some love for the plaintiff after all. So, hope was still there, I guess. Not so bright, but at least a little.
Christina was a very beautiful baby, extravagant baby. She was so extravagant, I would put her in a baby contest. She was an
And
immaculate
that's
baby.
why I need you to understand you love this child. You put her in baby contest. She's your beautiful baby girl. And then all of a sudden you disappear on her.
Just when you thought the dude was not all bad, boom, Mr. Jim went and had the audacity to say that about the plaintiff. Seriously? That girl could be your daughter, man. Talk about the lowest of low blows.
She says that you feel like she's after your money.
Not only mine, but my folks, okay? I mean, they got a nice, extravagant, nice motorhome. They got
Okay, but Mr.
Your
Wisniewski,
father's
Mr.
not even
Wisniewski,
around,
first
he's
of
dead.
all, you really believe this girl is standing here in tears over a motorboat
Yeah.
that your mama owns?
Miss Wisniewski had been on one heck of an emotional roller coaster. Her parents disappointed her greatly, and this paternity doubt had nagged this family for quite a long time now. Time for some real answers now. Oh, I hope that guy does turn out to be the father.
Mr. Wisniewski, you are her father.
So, what now? What are you gonna do now? Are you gonna come over for Christmas and, try to play makeup or what,
But you can blame your mom for doing this.
This baby daddy was pretty positive that he was the father of little Javier. The only hurdle was the defendant. She was certain that Mr. Kendricks wasn't her guy. However, she had other ulterior motives behind denying paternity.
Me and Greg met each other through he was dating a roommate of mine. And he came over one day. We did end up hitting it off and we was cool. Ended up having sex.
Okay, that's Three's Company, right? Y'all too young to know that show.
So, how did this sordid love affair begin? Well, as it turns out, Miss Saavedra knew the potential baby daddy through her roommate. Seems okay so far, right? Well, the question was, in what capacity was the said roommate involved with the plaintiff? Watch for yourselves.
Speaking of Three's Company, when me and the man that I believe is Javier's father, Maurice, was getting rocky, we decided to include Greg in our mix and try and spice things up.
Ooh, mama, they sure spiced things up, like a lot. And this mutually beneficial arrangement went on for quite some time, too. However, both parties were conflicted on the timeline, and it also appeared that Mr. Kendricks was more than helpful.
It happened.
Off and on for like 10 years.
What?
It's before.
It wasn't 10 years.
It happened like this, Your Honor. I've been knowing her 10 years. After I got her and we became friends, I was still kind of talking to her friend.
Taking friendship to new heights, we got to see next how the potential baby daddy had more than a good rapport going on with mommy. Yup. Not only was he a third in their relationship, but also a confidant, as well as a kind of best friend, too.
So you're saying you did the threesomes, but then you also would go over and sleep with her by yourself?
While he was at work, or, while he was cheating.
Your Honor, that happened one time.
Because I took
It was
her
once.
Oh, man! The plaintiff was having all kinds of fun with the baby mama. What in the world was that? He had his fun in threesomes, but also had a separate thing going on with the defendant as well. Though I gotta hand it to him, he was a little respectful towards the cousin at least.
So what are you saying? So when you had the threesomes with your cousin and her, you would wear a condom?
Yeah, for respect for him.
Because that's respect.
Yeah.
So then the night you had sex with her alone, that was unprotected.
Yes, ma'am.
It was.
That was a lot of information to get in so little time. Buckle up for some more now. The whole fun concluded with the pregnancy. Didn't that shock you? Nope, we saw it a mile away. Now that the cat was out of the bag, the reactions followed.
We talked about it later on.
Afterwards, he called me trying to act like, man, these old babies over here, dog. I'm telling you, when I see you, dog, it's on, man. You got me over here taking care of your babies. Because between both of the babies, like before her first baby was born, that's when the threesome started.
You have an older child with the cousin.
Yes.
Miss Saavedra was a busy bee on the weekends, apparently, as they were filled with all sorts of extracurricular activities. Wow! Where does someone get the energy to pull this off? Judge Lake finally asked the question we were all thinking of. Oh, yeah!
Miss Saavedra, I just have to stop. Unfortunately, I understand why Mr. Kendricks would probably enjoy it, because men can just be nasty like that.
Yeah, she want both her kids to have the same father, but
And they do.
Why is nobody on the birth certificate then?
About time, the infamous cousin Maurice came out to play. Unfortunately, he couldn't come to the court for these marvelous proceedings. But he did have something to share about this good old arrangement and the result of it.
Last year, Mercedes and I got into it because she thought I was having sex with another woman, which I wasn't. In retaliation, she had sex with my cousin Greg with no rubber. Shortly after, she comes up pregnant. I found out that they had been having sex behind my back for years. Since the dirty mess has come to light, I don't think her son is mine. He looks like Greg.
It was noble of Mr. Kendricks to be willing to step up as a father of little Mariah. But this bunch was one questionable lot with questionable activities. On the bright side, though, Miss Saavedra finally ended up with an epiphany. Way to go, woman.
You
Not
keep
bad.
having that little smile, Miss Saavedra, and I'm thinking to myself,
Because I'm so mad and upset and hurt and betrayed and everything else, I don't know how else to express it.
what I see you are emotional now. What are you really feeling inside?
I wanted everything from Mariah. I wanted her to grow up with a mother, wanted her to grow up with a father.
Well, this was all fun and games till the consequences of their own actions came and bit them in the back. While it was all casual for them and they laughed around, guess who wasn't laughing? Baby Mariah. Let's see what was the fate of that baby girl.
Mr. Pitchford Kendricks, you are not the father. I can see that really disappointed you. You thought you were.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Miss Nelson here was in grave despair. For a long time, she believed one man to be her father, but her birth certificate told another story. And then a Facebook message led her down another different path. The defendant aimed to resolve some of the mysteries surrounding the plaintiff.
Ms. Nelson, you say you grew up believing one man was your father, yet had another man listed on your birth certificate.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then, after you turned 30 years old, a third man, the defendant, suddenly contacted you on Facebook claiming he was your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
This woman here was having curveballs thrown at her left and right. The plaintiff was led to believe her father was someone who was incarcerated, and she had weekend visitations. But bam! A few days in New York changed her whole outlook on life.
Do you have a copy of your birth certificate with you?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Ron, let me see that. Father's name listed, Vincent Preston Nelson. And that's not the name of the gentleman you visited in prison.
No, Your Honor.
So this had to be confusing.
Yes, Your Honor. I was hurt. I never knew who he was.
Now that two possible fathers were in the picture, you'd think, all right, not so bad yet. We just have to figure out who amongst the two of them was the real dad, right? Nope, that didn't happen, because Destiny had another shocking revelation in store for Miss Nelson.
You don't know who I am, but I'm your father. I'm so sorry for all of the years I have missed you growing up. What were you thinking when you get this message?
Your Honor, honestly, I didn't even know what to think because it was like I was.
It's like it's just coming out of nowhere.
Two Christophers were in the plaintiff's life who claimed to have fathered her. Now that was a real head-scratcher. About time, the defendant revealed what information he possessed to untie this knot of paternity, considering the said daughter.
The reason being, I had problems with other people in my life, so I didn't want to use my real full name. So I made up a Facebook page of Christopher Lancaster. I always was looking for my daughter. Always. To me, I feel that she's my daughter. So I always was looking for her.
Well, some of the confusion was sorted, at least, though still a long way to go. Moving on, Mr. Sterling was more than forthcoming on telling the court how his budding love came to be with the plaintiff's mother. The daughter sure was mortified listening to that.
You were there for the birth?
We met in high school. We had sex every day during the summer. Every day. Every day.
Oh my God.
Oh, I bet you didn't see what was coming next. Miss Nelson had 3 possible fathers. We know that by now. One was in prison, one was on the birth certificate, and the last one was standing in the court. Guess who the man on the birth certificate was?
How can this be possible? Because there's the man in prison, and there's Vincent Preston Nelson, and then you say you were at the hospital.
Because, ma'am, I am Vincent Preston Nelson. Yes, I am.
Shock after shock after shock, man. For real. This case truly was a thriller in the making with all the right kinds of mystery. Now that Mr. Sterling was in fact Mr. Vincent, it's only fair we got to know how this all came to be.
I was younger then. Excuse my hair, I didn't get a haircut back then.
This is you on this
Yes, ma'am.
ID card.
Well, when I grew up, I never met my real father. When I met my father when I was 17, he said, "We changing your name to Christopher Sterling Jr." I said, "Of course."
Next up, we got to see the emotional side of the defendant. It was an awe-worthy moment. He so clearly wanted to be the father to our plaintiff here. Yet she had a pre-established bond with the other man already.
Mr. Sterling, I see this has you very emotional. What is it you feel? Are you just so upset because she was led to believe something different?
I look like him. I don't look like this man right here.
And you just believe in your heart that's your daughter?
Yes, Your Honor.
And all these years you've been hurting, just missing her?
Yes, Your Honor.
The key player of this mystery drama finally made an appearance in the court. The plaintiff's mother, Mama Nelson, had some things to share. Yep, she'd recognized the defendant, but she had a different story for the prison man, though.
Against my wishes and against my other family's wishes, who she was staying with, she snuck and went to see this man.
So you never told her that. But Ms. Nelson, you felt like you were led to believe it because he said, I'm your father.
I'm your father, and your mother took me out of your life and said I cannot be a part of your life because I'm in and out of jail.
Mr. Sterling brought a witness to back up his claim. Good for him. His younger daughter testified on his behalf, but her testimony ended up raising certain doubts. Yup, and those doubts led to Miss Nelson blowing up on the defendant. Guess she had reached her limit of drama.
Why do you have doubt?
I've been told my whole life, but I've never met her, and I feel like if that was my sister, why wasn't it a connection? Why didn't we have a connection? And it's more where I came from. I have 2 other siblings, so it's like, why wasn't she brought to me? Like, or us 2 brought together, period. So it's like, is she my sister? I don't know. I have no idea.
Miss Nelson had been searching for 30-some years to find out whom she belonged to. That was a pretty long time to wander around aimlessly in search of a tribe. The defendant strongly believed he was the real deal, and my money was on him. Here are the results.
Mr. Sterling, you are her father.